You're listening to a tuned in, dropped out production. Thanks, y'all.
Let the weed float around the circle. Oh, till the herb come on my way. Oh, till the herb come on my way.
Y'all, welcome to Yes We Cannabis, a journey into medical marijuana. I'm Callie, your friendly, outdoor grown, and probably high neighborhood medical cannabis consultant, and I'm back at the mic and ready to talk about one of my favorite things, nature's medicine. For real. All right, thank you for tuning in. If you caught the last episode, which was the first episode of this podcast, I appreciate you coming back. I put a lot of things out there last time that are new for me. And like to talk publicly about, and I want to express my gratitude as you join me on this very new and exciting / daunting in the best way project that is definitely outside of my normal comfort zones. I have no idea what this podcast might grow into, especially since we are getting into like the nitty gritty of a very newly researched and booming industry, but I am so jazzed to get to continue learning and growing alongside it with y'all. So let's go. All right, that being said, let's get into it. Now, this episode is going to be a bit of a doozy. I'm going to be dropping a lot of big scientific words that might be a lot to take in, but don't worry, I'm here with you, and I'm going to make it as approachable as possible. We got this. All right. And don't worry, we will get back into the somatic parts of it as well. But in order to really understand how cannabis affects us, we have to break it down to the human body experience on a physical and biological level. And with that, today we are going to talk about cannabinoids, one of the keys that unlocks the true potentials of cannabis. So, we will get into what cannabinoids are in a moment, but in order to talk about medicinal cannabis, we have to understand how our nervous system works. So the nervous system is a complex network of nerves and cells in the body that transmute signals between the brain and the rest of the body, allowing for functions like movement, sensation, thought, emotion to happen, It primarily consists of the brain, spinal cord, and a network of nerves extending through the body. Motor and mental function. It tells us when we get hurt, when we need to eat, when we need to sleep. It basically runs the show in regards to like taking care of yourself as a human meat suit. You know what I mean? Now, running parallel or kind of like in tandem to our nervous system is our endocannabinoid system. So, endocannabinoid systems, ECS. So this is a biological system composed of endocannabinoids, which are endogenous lipid-based retrograde neurotransmitters that bind to cannabinoid receptors and cannabinoid receptor proteins that are expressed throughout the vertebrae central nervous system, including the brain, and peripheral nervous system. Okay, that is a lot to take in here. I truly get it. So I'm going to try, here's a more digestible explanation. The ECS is composed of endocannabinoid neurotransmitters that bind to cannabinoid receptors that exist on almost every part of our internal system, your organs, your bones, muscles, and inside of our body, right? The cannabinoid receptors allow the cannabinoid enzymes present in our body to access and send specific signals to the brain through the endocannabinoid system, which is moving alongside of our nervous system. So you can think of those two nervous systems kind of working together, honestly. That's kind of what they're doing. All right, so the most common cannabinoid receptors that are found in our bodies are the CB1 and CB2 receptors. They are proteins embedded in the membrane of our cells, and they serve different functions, both of those. So CB1 receptors are primarily found in the brain and central nervous system. They help mediate the psychoactive processing of cannabinoids. So, everything that's happening in our brain, that's what is going to be taking care of that. And they're incredibly important for brain development, learning and memory, motor behavior, appetite regulation, body temperature, inflammation, and pain perception, which is a very important thing. CB2 receptors, on the other hand, primarily found in our peripheral organs, which are organs that are not connected to our brain and spinal cord. So these are going to include your liver, colon, spleen, pancreas, and our bones, and our immune system as a whole, which is dope. They are deeply involved in our anti-inflammatory and immunosuppressive systems, and they're also critical in helping control our immune system and organ health. Now,
I got some cool graphics I can bring up real quick, but
cool.
we gotta just a 1 second, and I'm gonna get them up.
Thanks.
For
We're figuring it out. All right, y'all. We're back. So now, if you are familiar with cannabis and the way it works, you might hear the word cannabinoid and like immediately think of THC, CBD, which is like absolutely correct. Those are cannabinoids. But our body as well. Our body makes natural cannabinoids. So we have two that we are like pretty sure of, and we have researched quite a bit. I have my cheat sheets because these words are pretty hard to say. So be with me. Anandamide, which is AEA, and this one is a doozy. So prepare yourself. It's arachidonic oil glycerol, which we're going to call 2AG because that is what we're going to refer to him. We're not going to talk about a ton, but those are those. So those are a couple that have been researched extensively. And these neurotransmitters, they latch onto our cannabinoid receptors in our body, and they help us manage stress in it, like naturally, be it like mentally or physically. So our body is programmed to make natural cannabinoids that use our endocannabinoid system to chat with the brain and release chemicals to help keep our body functioning healthily. Alrighty. So let's bring the endocannabinoid system and cannabis together to better understand like the medicinal properties of cannabis. So there are more than 100 cannabinoids that have been detected in cannabis, as well as 300 like plus other chemicals. So, we're just really starting to scratch the surface of this incredible plant. Some of the more extensively researched include tetrahydrocannabinol, which is THC, the primary psychoactive cannabinoid, and cannabidiol, which is CBD, the primary non-psychoactive cannabinoid. So these are cannabinoids most popularly associated with the plant. Now, we also have done some extensive research on cannabinol, CBN, cannabigerol, CBG, and cannabicronamine, which is CBC. And one last one, tetrahydrocannabinol, which is THCV, not to be confused with THC. Yes. Okay. So a lot of big scientific words to take in. So from now on, I'm going to be referring to these cannabinoids. My cat for a cuddle. I'm going to be referring to these cannabinoids by their acronyms. So we have THC, CBD, CBN, CBG, CBC, and THCV. Cat attack, am I right? So all of these cannabinoids have different therapeutic properties, and they have the ability to latch onto the cannabinoid receptors in our body. So not only does our endocannabinoid system contain receptors ready to receive our natural cannabinoids, but also these cannabinoids that we introduce into our body and bloodstream, which is what happens when we ingest cannabis in all of its forms. So these different cannabinoids find the corresponding receptors focused on what they're here to do, and they help with our functions, basically. Alrighty, so now that we have introduced these cannabinoids, let's get into them. So we have THC again, CBD, CBN, CBG, CBC, THCV. Let us start with the most widely known, which is going to be THC. So THC is responsible for most of the psychoactive effects that cannabis is more popularly known for, This is the cannabinoid responsible for that like uplifting feeling that we call a high. It's like if people talk about they're floating, that's kind of the vibe. That's what they're feeling. And this is a cannabinoid that's going to cause like those giggles and, in any moments that you're like, wow, that's fucking sick, man. THC is probably behind it. Most people who also seek out cannabis recreationally are looking to experience the most popular effects of like THC. They're still using it medicinally, even if you're not aware, which is kind of sick. But THC isn't just all fun and games. It can relieve spasms, increase appetite, munchies for real, acts as a pain reliever, can reduce nausea, and can also act as a muscle relaxant. THC has been most widely researched, it's been the most widely researched of all the cannabinoids, but that makes a lot of sense because it is the highest concentrated cannabinoid in the plant. And it's also been, it's had a couple moments through history in regards to coming in through the medical scene. Like during the AIDS crisis in the 80s, there was so little that doctors and nurses could do to help with relief with a lot of the symptoms that AIDS caused. And one of the things they did turn to was cannabis. And lo and behold, it really helped fight a lot of those symptoms, including appetite loss and severe nausea and nerve pain. And it, even if it didn't, cure, of course, AIDS, it really helped the quality of life of these people towards the end of some of the hardest days they ever lived. So it's pretty cool, pretty magic. All right. Cool. Now we're going to move to CBD. If you hear a purring cat, that's because she's now here and she's a very happy kitty. So CBD is responsible for many of the physical therapeutic benefits of cannabis. CBD has been noted to reduce nausea, relieve pain, relax muscles, decrease anxiety, relieve spasms, increase appetite. It acts as an antioxidant, and it can help decrease seizures. There are some really incredible research projects that have been done, and there is some incredible evidence to suggest, and also, to kind of prove that like it does help seizures. There's been some people's lives who have been completely changed. So super celebrating that. CBD is the second most prominent cannabinoid found in the plant and is often seen as more medicinal than THC when you're talking about that vibe. Cool. That is a lot to take in. Let's take a break because I have said the word cannabinoids so many times, and we will be back very shortly. I gotta take care of this animal as well. Hello. Welcome back. It was a chaotic break for us, surprisingly, but not surprisingly. But we're here, so thanks for sticking with us. Okay, now that we're back, let's dive back into these cannabinoids, shall we? So before I dive into the next, 4 that we're going to go into, I want to talk about what is believed to be known as the entourage effect theory. So I do want to state that when I am talking about a lot of this stuff, I am going to say the theories and stuff and research shows, because there is not enough extensive research done to really be able to say this is a fact. And a lot of that is because there's not a lot of funding for cannabis. So there are people who are working really hard and discovering these things, and I have experienced my own personal things that help me understand cannabis. So just wanted to let that know. And also because it's part of my job, I have to let you know that it's these are theories, but it can help things, Anyway, so we're going to get back into this entourage effect theory. So this theory denotes a combination of cannabinoids and other properties in cannabis that they work best and more effectively when they are together. So that being said, these next cannabinoids that I'm going to go into are known to work best when they're paired with another cannabinoid, therapeutically. All right, CBN. So CBN is a mildly psychoactive cannabinoid that's best known to help with sleep. So other than therapeutic effects, including pain relief, anti-inflammatory properties, spasm relief, and acting as an antioxidant, I have known many people who utilize it for all these reasons, but especially for sleep. One of my good friends is a night NICU nurse, and she swears by CBN, helping her get through that life. So shout out CBN, fucking love you. We'll move to CBG next. So CBG is a non-psychoactive cannabinoid that can best be described as a full body experience. So it has been seen to lower blood pressure. It's known to be antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and be a bone stimulant. And remember, yes, bones do have cannabinoid receptors. I know, sounds crazy, but they do. CBG, the best way I can kind of think to describe it is it's focusing on your whole body. It's an ultimate muscle relaxer. So when you're coming home after a long day and you have been really tense and you want to calm down, it can take a long time to come down from your day and be able to feel loosey-goosey. CBG fast tracks that. It's I'm going to do the job of your physical body and help you relax these muscles so you can focus on your mental come down. And for me, who has a very spicy nervous system a lot during the day, I do need help jump starting my nervous system come down, so I can also, if it's been a really hard mental health day, figure out a way to come down from that. And CBG is great for that. Sometimes I get the shakes when I have taken a good chunk of it because I can feel my muscles literally trying to relax. It's great. It's intense, but it's great. So 10 out of 10. Do recommend CBG. It's incredible. Okay, next, CBC. Another CB. So CBC is non-psychoactive as well, and it provides an overall euphoric and uplifting feeling. And that's my personal favorite right now. This guy is antifungal, it's anti-inflammatory, it's an antioxidant, and it has antibacterial properties, and it's also acts as a bone stimulant, another one. In my personal experience, this cannabinoid has been incredibly beneficial in regards to my mental health. Depression can really, really weigh you down. Let me tell you that. And if you've experienced it, you probably understand. But the uplifting and very refreshing effects of CBC can really like help turn any day around. Even if you've had a really hard day getting home, like it makes even the small tasks that can seem impossible in those moments feel manageable again. And because of that, like it's much easier to kind of like maneuver through like your everyday life. So let's go fucking CBC, right? Okay. Now we're going to move on to one of the newest like cannabinoids that is starting to like hit the shelves and can be found in stores. Like these are the main cannabinoids that you can kind of find out and about if you're looking for them. Because this is kind of what we are know about cannabis. We're still figuring it out. So this newest cannabinoid is going to be THCV. So not to be confused with THCV. It's starting to gain notoriety and in the cannabis world because a lot more research is coming out, and it suggests that it helps decrease appetites, decrease seizures, and again, acts as a bone stimulant. There is some interesting research that's starting to go into this, especially in regards to like osteoporosis and like cancer of the bones. I am very excited to see how it continues to evolve because it's been very promising. So like, let's go. Also, everything seems to be a bone stimulant, almost a lot of the CBs. Cool. So all of this to say, with THCV, if you are somebody who needs like a little extra like energy in your day, this is the one for you. Like it's going to, if you pair it with THC in particular, it's going to like jumpstart that like nice euphoric high. And if you like to get like zoned in on something to get shit done, if you like going for a run, if you like working out, THCV is a really great thing for you. It can really help you just like stay really energized and focused. So very, very magical. So like I was saying before, we've only kind of scratched the surface when it comes to understanding like the myriad of all the cannabinoids that are found in cannabis. And as more and more make their way into the research spotlight, I have no doubt the magic of this plant will become more and more evident. And the reason there is not a lot of research, even though we have known about the medicinal properties of cannabis for a very long time, the 60s was very huge in a lot of the studies, as it was for a lot of drugs, honestly, is there is a lot of stigma around cannabis. And because it is still illegal, no longer classified as a very like scary hard drug, like the declassification is going to help the research a lot. But because it's new and because it has a lot of stigmas, there is a lot of bias in a lot of research as well. So the good research doesn't always come out, doesn't always get out, because sometimes if you find a study that was done and it does like really denote cannabis in a negative way, I would maybe just suggest sitting back and seeing who funded that study, like who published the study, because you will sometimes and oftentimes find that it is big pharma, and that gets into the capitalist issue that also involves cannabis. So there's a lot of stigmas, a lot of issues, but those walls are starting to come down and more is starting to be revealed, which is great. We're starting to get a lot more legislation passed, which is wonderful. I have a feeling it's going to be federally legalized soon. It should be, because if we could federally legalize it, the amount of money in taxes that like our states could be getting is unreal. Cannabis is some of the biggest industries in the states that it is legal, and it helps fund so much. So, if anything, that's a good enough reason to do it, because we will suddenly have money to put back into the community. And also we can start getting cannabis out there for people to find and use. In regards to these cannabinoids and my personal experience, I know I kind of like touched on them a little bit, but they have been very influential in my healing process. When I started my journey with cannabis, I started with Journeyman, which is, I think I mentioned it last time. No, I don't think I did. I think I just said Journeyman. They are a brand up here that I really, really love. They're incredible. And I started with 1-to-1s, which are 10 milligrams of THC and 10 milligrams of CBD edibles. I started with half at first because I was a weed baby and it can be crazy. And also I already have like a very, very active mind. So, I was like, careful. But I can guarantee the CBD and the THC working together and being able to like help calm my body has really, really, really been influential in me being able to face my mental health, because especially now that because like in the last year I went through some really, really big shit, and I just had to like face a lot of really, really big wounds, which meant that a lot of triggers were on the surface, and it was very easy for my nervous system to be triggered by something. And I knew it was because, you're in the deep throes of I was in deep throes of depression, and I knew that was what's happening, but it's really hard to control that even if cannabis allowed me, as I was kind of saying earlier, to just like kind of help shut my body down without me having to get too like active in like the physical shutdown of it, because that can be really hard when you are mentally going really fast. So the aid of shutting down this helped me focus on this. And when I can focus on this, all of this starts feeling better. And cannabis is incredible, and it's very healing. And for me, it has been incredibly influential. So, that's another reason I really want to do this podcast, because I think it's important that people learn what is cannabis, what it is comprised of, like the science of it, where it comes from. And if you can understand the science, it's a lot easier to talk about it and like destigmatize it, because it's just a plant. It grows naturally. We've been using it medicinally for over 5,000 years that we know on record. And the reason it has been especially taboo in our country is a lot, turn of century loggers, when the logger union, like loggers were really big, and like we were starting to use wood for a lot of things, because hemp is actually more sustainable, and like you can do a lot of things that like paper and like wood can do. So there was just it started early. It's basically money. A lot of it's money based in the beginning, and also eventually very much like racial bias based. There's a lot of, we will get into it. I won't get too far, but I just am happy to be here, to spread this news. So I'm going to kind of leave it here today. I think I kind of said what I needed to say today, or I also know there were a lot of big scientific words, and it can take a lot to like come down from that. And I'm sure you're really sick of hearing me say the word cannabinoids. So last time, I promise. Next week, we're going to dive into the abundant world of terpenes, and we're going to discuss the healing nature of, Mother Nature. I'll see you then. You're listening to a tuned in, dropped out production. Thanks, y'all.